Theater in Harlem has always been an important opportunity, an important avenue, an important activity in this community.
To be kind of in that community of creative artists and become a company, a family of artists that created production after production after production, really created the foundation for everything that I've done since.
Theatre for me was a way to have a broader conversation with as large a number of people as possible.
In a way, I was born in theater. My dad was part of the American Negro Theater, so I was always part of theater. I always knew about theater, knew there was theater, knew that we had stories to tell and they could be told on the stage.
The migration of blacks coming from the South and coming from the Caribbean into New York, blacks were beginning to feel a sense that they needed to get away from how they were being depicted, where they were depicted on legitimate stages by people in blackface that were not them. And of course, as our black actors started emerging with this sense of purpose, they started moving away out of that and creating plays for blacks by blacks.
I came to Harlem in 1933. Harlem in those days, we were more segregated than in the South. All of the better buildings had signs on them, vacancy, white only. And that forced us to put up our own grocery stores, our own drugstores. The Lois Theater, you couldn't sit on the ground floor. The balcony, all black people had to go to the balcony.
From the early 30s and even the 20s, there were theater groups, there were gatherings of people. In the early beginnings, the church played a major role. Most of our major churches had theater components. They would do what we call sacred plays, bringing the Bible to life. St. Philip's, St. Mark's Church, Abyssinian Development, they all had theater programs in its early incarnation. So you would have actors like a Paul Robeson come to those churches and perform. James Earl Jones's father was a part of that. And then that evolved into community-based theaters. An important aspect when we talk about theater in Harlem was, of course, the WPA years. President Roosevelt, right after the stock market crash, had decided that in Harlem that they would create a WPA program. It was a Works Progress Administration. It was created to find employment for people who were unemployed all over the country. In Harlem, the main initiative was to create a theater wing, and that theater wing was headed by John Houseman, and the artistic director was Orson Welles. And they created a Macbeth called the Macbeth Mikado. And in that program, they employed over 800 actors, directors, technicians, musicians, and that became a signature piece. And the play was held at the Lafayette Theater on 132nd Street and Lenox Avenue.